Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Wake Up Today. My name is Spencer Walsh. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Fun fact, I almost did the show at 2 a.m. and I got up super early to do it. And I thought it was 6, but it was 2. So I guess you could take like an extra 4 hours of sleep or so. But no, we're starting off today's show with a question, then we'll get you the news of the day, including the Egg Boy, Trump's tweets, and take a trip outside the Beltway. It's always fun. Alright, so yeah, we are starting off with this. Though, a question about Muslims and Islamophobia. When we think about the attack on 2 mosques in New Zealand, which killed at least 49 people, it would serve us well to remember how widespread and acceptable the hatred of Muslims is in Western society. And especially a lot more after 9/11, it's been really growing up, it's been building, and there's a lot of false facts out there. And I feel like really being a Muslim, especially in these times with the rise of xenophobia, both especially in Britain and the United States, is more dangerous than it's ever been. So we got the attack on mosques in New Zealand, in the east, for us at least. And we have rampant Islamophobia all over the West. We'll give you some examples here. Islamophobia is everywhere. It cuts across party lines and political ideologies. It's a mainstream form of racism for which there are few consequences. Interesting stuff. So, studies have shown the preponderance of negative media coverage of Muslims cannot be explained away as merely news coverage of violent events. One study found that Muslims are clearly distinctive as the only religious group associated with overwhelmingly negative coverage. So, it's just whatever, even though obviously, in proportion, terrorism and the Islamic faith are not, it's not a large percentage, and a lot more times there's more white nationalist terrorism, right-wing terrorism, than any kind of Muslim terrorism. It still gets overwhelmingly the most negative news coverage, which is a real shame. Just this past week, a host on Fox News, the most popular and influential cable news network in America, implied that Representative Ilhan Omar might not be loyal to America because she wears a hijab. The host was let off and slap on the wrist and suffered no other punishment. That could possibly change as her show looks to now be suspended. But originally, there was no wider outrage. Like, people got more mad at, like, I don't know, what did they get mad at? It wasn't really a big deal. It wasn't something that a lot of America realized and accepted as a bad thing. Fox News has really been the breeding ground for anti-Muslim hatred for years and years and years and years and years and years. Yeah, so, you can look for like the no-go zone talk of only Muslim zones in like France and Europe or something, and England. It's just the hatred of Muslims, the fear of it. Like, it's a big reason why, at least in America, there's such a growing hatred of Muslims today. Fox News is. The second longest serving late-night talk show host in America is Bill Maher. He is, for some reason, beloved by many liberals. He's also committed Islamophobe, literally. Here he is talking about the popularity of the name of Muhammad in Britain. And people like naming their name. People like naming their kid Muhammad. A lot of Muslims are moving into Britain. He said, "Am I racist to feel that I'm alarmed by that? Because I am. And it's not because of the race. It's because of the religion. I don't have to apologize, do I, for not wanting the Western world to be taken over by Islam in 300 years? Yeah, and Maher was not hounded off of the television for these comments. Everything's fine for him. And the thing is, you really cannot cancel Bill Maher. People have tried, but he just keeps coming back. He's a termite, really, in that front. Kind of same aspect of Donald Trump. He just says so many stupid things, and his brand is saying stupid things. People expect him to say stupid things, so no one really can kick him off for that, I think. But still, it's really rough to see some of that happening. Like Bill Maher, Jesus. Yeah, I love how he asks, "Am I racist?" Yes, you are. There's nothing wrong with kids naming, like, if people were naming their kids like Moses, would it be a problem? Yeah, rampant Islamophobe, big time liberal, big time resistance guy who's also happens to be rampant Islamophobe. Granted, that's probably not going to be everybody, but there are some certain kinds of Islamophobia that liberals are okay with. They let it happen, and it's just as easy. Chelsea Clinton, an example of one of them. The attacks on Illinois that they routinely do, silencing Islamic Bank and stuff like that. Really, that's the way it works. So speaking of, when you talk about Britain, Bill Maher was talking about Britain, things are perhaps even worse there. The British media routinely bears Islamophobic false propaganda across its front pages. One of the most respected conservative magazines had a regular columnist named Rod Little. And yeah, I'm not joking here. Right. My own view is that there's not enough Islamophobia in the Tory party. Yeah, and obviously not all Britons are Islamophobic. We had Andy Cowles on over the weekend, a Newsflash premiere. Go check that out. Great guy. But this guy actually suffered no consequences for this. Little wrote in defense of Boris Johnson, the former minister of the British government, after Johnson compared Muslim women in burqas to letterboxes and bank robbers. Wow. Johnson, who has a long history of Islamophobia and racism, has not prevented him from reaching the height of British politics, also suffered absolutely no consequences for this. He's a potential frontrunner to become the next British Prime Minister. Even if Johnson were to reach those heights, he would pale in prominence next to the most powerful Islamophobe in the world, the President of the United States, whose pledge to ban Muslims from America helped him get elected, and whose decision to carry out the pledge was upheld by the Supreme Court. In Australia, where the suspect in the New Zealand attacks is alleged to live, Islamophobia is healthy and thriving as part of political culture, where the two main parties vie to see who can crack down on mostly Muslim immigrants who are trying to reach the country's shores. These policies have been embraced by the far right around the world. These are a tiny number of examples, but the truth is obvious. You can still hate Muslims, you can make tons of money on television, you can hate Muslims and be a highly successful politician, you can hate Muslims and never lose your elite perch in the media, and if you violently target Muslims, it's more likely than not that people will move on quickly, and it's long past time for that to change. Just a little bit of a reminder here. Thank you to Jack Merkinson in Splinter for that. But yeah, huge thing that we need to start actually thinking about. There is a big problem that we have with some of that. But anyway, we're going to now turn to the White House news, where Trump really went on a crazy Twitter tear this past end of the weekend. The president went on a Twitter rampage, but not about the massacre at two mosques in New Zealand by white supremacists that left 50 people dead now. Trump's acting chief of staff made rounds on Sunday shows denying the president was a white supremacist, calling the suggestion absurd. But Trump has yet to, this sound familiar, explicitly condemn extremism or specifically call for support of the Muslim community. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said she told Trump the best support she could provide her country was to send love and sympathy to all Muslim communities. It's nah, come on. Instead, the president devoted his tweeting manpower by defending Fox News host and former prosecutor Jeanine Pirro. Her show did not air Saturday after Pirro was suspended for questioning Representative Ilhan Omar's patriotism because of her hijab and Muslim faith. Face the Nation, Margaret Brennan's remarkable exchange with Mulvaney on the Trump's topic is worth a watch or read or whatever you want to do about that. But other U.S. presidents have decried horror abroad as an affront to values shared among the liberal Democratic allies, but Trump has made no major address to mourning those gunned down last week, worshipped in New Zealand. He's not condemned the professed white supremacist motives of the accused killers. Again, sound familiar? Throwback to August of 2017, where we had the Charlottesville thing. He just doesn't want to condemn this. He just doesn't. It's that simple. Instead, Trump spent the past few days, including the hours before and after the church service, rallying his most loyal supporters around his nationalist agenda against illegal immigration, attacking a familiar list of perceived enemies and adding new ones, all casting himself as a victim of unfair attacks. It was a weekend of nonstop grievances from the leader of the free world, wrote Annie Guerin in the Washington Post. Throughout the day, Trump incorrectly attacked the late Senator John McCain for leaking a dossier about Trump's ties to Russia and criticizing General Motors and a union leader by name, urging them to reopen the manufacturing plant in Lordstown, Ohio. And boy, I mean, the UN person in that situation deserves criticism. UN leader and GM, sorry, not the UN, the GM leader deserves criticism. That, but like, it's going to be very interesting. Let's just say to see how the union, who has been known for being one of the more cooperative unions out there, how they respond to that. I'll just on that issue specifically. Okay, so yeah, here's how Trump's going to hopefully get off that crazy tear. Trump's going to celebrate Greek Independence Day at 5:45 p.m. It will be the only time the press may have to ask him any question. On Tuesday, Trump's going to host Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, named Trump of the Tropics. The visit will afford Trump a chance to celebrate what he considers the beneficial global influence of his America First agenda. The Brazilians' far-right views on immigration hold a mirror to Trump's own. Wednesday, Trump's going to tour and deliver remarks at an Army tank plant in Lima, Ohio. He'll hold a re-election fundraiser afterwards, benefiting the RNC in Canton, per the Cincinnati Enquirer. Speaking of re-election, it's election time on the other side. The Democratic Party, where Kristen Gillibrand officially announced that she is headed to Michigan, Iowa, and Nevada this week. She's running. Beto O'Rourke went for a little run. Cory Booker packed some rooms in rural Iowa, and Pete Buttigieg went viral for his bookish language skills. He literally shocked a woman by speaking Norwegian to her, and she was actually Norwegian. Amy Klobuchar celebrated St. Patrick's Day with Iowa's Lynn County Democrats, and Elizabeth Warren headed down south to Memphis. Today, Warren's going to go to Mississippi for a few stops in the Mississippi Delta, followed by a CNN town hall in Jackson. There's two notable Democrats still going to make a decision. Joe Biden, we know who's probably going to run, almost definitely, and Georgia Governor Stacey Abrams. She told New York Magazine's Rebecca Traister when she'll make a decision to jump the race, saying, quote, "I'll know when I know." I think it's up to 14 Democrats now that are in the race. So it's all interesting. So there's, on the other side, possibly a primary challenge coming in for President Trump that may be a little bit more serious than that Bill Weld character. We have Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, who has signaled that if he does run an insurgent campaign for the GOP nomination, he would pitch himself as more in tune with the party's long-held values and worldview than Trump. Oh, God, I can't wait to see him fail. He's not even worth the time, honestly. So maybe you'd be a little bit better. He probably is. The funny thing is he probably has the same ideological positions as like Hillary Clinton. But I don't know how he's going to win, because it's like once you move your base too far right, it's pretty hard to move them back again. Like, it's just that simple. And Trump's the most popular guy in the Republican Party, most popular guy the Republican Party has ever seen. And some no-name governor from Maryland who thinks he's all that because his state likes him does not mean there's 49 other states you got to worry about when you run for president, but it's just that simple. So he says, "I came from the Ronald Reagan School of Politics." That's an interesting quote. Groups like the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, a frequent target of Trump's ire, are critically important, said Hogan. For a guy who wrote the book Art of the Deal, he's just not making good deals. Sometimes he's his own worst enemy. There's a better way to accomplish things. I'm for a bigger tent, for coming up with ideas and solutions that can reach a wider audience. I appeal to Republicans because my message is, I haven't abandoned my principles. I just said, let's deal in the art of the possible. Okay. I'm not sure anyone wants to focus on dealing the art of the possible right now at the moment. So, especially in the Republican Party, that's that. On the issue of abortion, immigration, and gun control, Hogan appealed to conservatives who have rallied behind Trump would certainly be tested if he jumped into the race. Yeah. Now we turn to the global side of things, where we see a pretty impactful front page check at the front page of the New Zealand Herald, remembering those who were lost, the 50 sisters and brothers. New Zealanders still seem to be coming to terms with the events that increasingly seem to be among the most deeply scarring and consequential for the nation's history. What has just occurred is new territory, puncturing the blanket of relative security